What is a subtle sign that someone is really intelligent? People who use analogies to explain concepts to others. It's a form of code switching, and integrating concepts on the fly is a clear indicator someone is both socially and conceptually intelligent. As many have pointed out, not all analogies are helpful or make sense to others. So, a useful analogy that creates an aha moment for someone is a wonderful thing. An analogy is an association, a mental process of connecting an idea or thing to a relatable image for someone who can then see and digest the initial representation. Not using analogies doesn't mean someone can be intelligent. And social intelligence doesn't mean social ease and charisma, it means an awareness that one's own understanding and experience often has to be translated in ways that others can relate to. They apply knowledge from one realm into a new and relevant situation. For instance, one person described a situation might have been on Reddit, where they were a new assistant in an academic research lab and fixed a snag that stumped all the senior researchers, including the professor. The team was trying to video record their project using a strobe light, and their footage wasn't working as planned. When no one else made progress at diagnosing or solving the problem, the most junior individual spoke up and suggested that the strobe could be out of phase. They remembered that video typically records at a rate of 24 frames a minute second, thanks for the correction, and explained that along with suggesting a change to the strobe's flash rate, so it would coincide with the recording. This worked. And it really raised up that individual's reputation within the group. Inwardly, they were almost embarrassed about the source of this knowledge. They had a gaming hobby back in high school, and had taken some video footage of that, and discovered the standard frame rate while playing around in editing software. But they remembered that detail years later, and realized it made a difference in a completely different context. That is intelligence. You can honestly just tell by their vibes. The way they compose themselves, talk, write, think, explain, etc. What I find the most interesting is that intelligent people, in my experience, are more likely to be less cold fact-driven, and more theoretical and creative. For example, if an intelligent person were to read a certain stat, fact, idea, etc., they are likely to have very interesting theoretical extrapolations. My friend qualified for the Mensa membership, and whenever we talk, his mindset always strays towards very interesting outlooks. He has certain ideas that I would never have even thought about. It's actually very fun to talk to intelligent people. The way they are able to absorb information like a sponge, and apply that information is very eye-opening. This is more of a hit-or-miss one, but in casual conversation they are good at puns or wordplay. Making good puns, especially spontaneously, requires a high level of understanding in whatever language is being spoken. If they tell you a pre-constructed joke that has a punchline, that is a pun, a punchline if you will, you can't really tell, because they could have had a lot of time to come up with it, like me for instance, or they could have memorized it from somewhere. But spontaneous puns generally mean they're processing your conversation multiple interpretations at once, in an intelligent way. A lot of these responses seem more about self-confidence. Admit you are wrong. Confidence. Admit you don't know something. Confidence. Change your opinion when presented with new information. Confidence with a dash of intelligence. Intelligence indicators. The ability to quickly grasp and apply new concepts is a huge indicator. The ability to clearly communicate concepts across specialties. Huge education or experience gaps. Using generic problem-solving skills on new and unfamiliar problems without prior knowledge of the space. At the grocery store, usually between customers, a till person will poke at the bags or wipe the belt, or whatever to look busy. There is a young girl at our local store who busies herself as usual, except sometimes she will look around at customers. Not open-mouthed 1,000-yard stare, but actually looking at customers. She was watching them, studying them. I spent almost 20 years in security, and the way she studied customers was exactly the way I did it. I thought it was very interesting. I shared it with my wife, who's a teacher, who told me she's actually one of the smartest students in the school. I knew it. To be able to shift perspective and scope of a problem with ease. For instance, if discussing economic issues, to understand the ramifications that a policy would have on people who aren't just poor, or rich, or urban or suburban, or educated or ignorant, etc. Then, to understand how those audiences would accept or reject those policies. Everyone has opinions, but few people consider that to realizing those opinions into reality have consequences, and even fewer are willing to articulate what consequences they are willing to accept or reject. In simple words, it's just thinking it through, but I find this separate those who engage with topics from those who just wish for magical ponies well about problems. It depends on the definition. My husband has rebuilt cars, knows what every sound in a car, truck or motorcycle probably means, and what needs to be done to fix it. Some issues he knows how to fix. Some issues he leaves with experts. He knows his limitations. That's intelligent right there. He also knows building codes, and can do pretty much anything in our home, including electrical, plumbing and structural codes. Everything is up to code. In the house he bought a year before we met. He's built 3 computers since I met him 6 years ago, including the one I'm currently using. He understands RAM and ROM and all sorts of other terms that I can't keep in my head that are computer related. He knows exactly what's needed to make the computer work properly and how to get the most out of every machine. His friends call him for advice about anything they want to fix or change in their homes, as he knows the answers and can explain it to them in a way that they can understand. If they're working on a project, he'll drop everything, especially if he thinks they're in over their head, to help them. There are a few things he can't do, like painting, so he hires people for those things. He can't spell worth a damn. Not even his siblings' names. Whenever he's using a computer, I often get called into whatever room he's in, just to spell a word or two and/or to help him find something on whatever page he's trying to read on the computer. I can spell. That's my superpower. I can also knit, embroider and crochet, but haven't in years. I would have to say of the two of us, he's the intelligent one. Because of how he looks and acts, people underestimate him all the time, until they get to know him. There's really not much he can't do, and do well, including cooking. I always loved this quote from Neal Stephenson's The Diamond Age. The difference between ignorant and educated people is that the latter know more facts. But that has nothing to do with whether they are stupid or intelligent. The difference between stupid and intelligent people, and this is true whether or not they are well educated, is that intelligent people can handle subtlety. They are not baffled by ambiguous or even contradictory situations. In fact, they expect them and are apt to become suspicious when things seem overly straightforward. My paternal grandma is really intelligent, I think. She went to secretarial school in the 1950s, but never really worked, so I wouldn't call her highly educated or anything. But I think she could have gone far in higher education if she'd attempted it. I'll explain something to her and ask her if I'm making sense. She's 90 years old. I wouldn't be at all surprised if I said something that went over her head from time to time. But she doesn't miss a step. Whenever I describe a situation or concept to her and ask her if I'm making sense, she will repeat the thing I said back to me, using different wording and her own examples to prove she absolutely understood. I don't know many other people who do that. She also is happy to change her stance on anything when presented with new information. And a lot of times she'll bring it up again months later and thank you for showing her a new perspective. She isn't just swayed by me because I'm her granddaughter. She's the same way with everyone else I've ever seen her interact with. Look, having nuclear. My uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer, Dr. John Trump at MIT. Good genes, very good genes, okay, very smart. The Wharton School of Finance, very good, very smart. You know, if you're a conservative Republican, if I were a liberal, if I ran as a liberal Democrat, they would say I'm one of the smartest people anywhere in the world. It's true. But when you're a conservative Republican, they try. Oh, do they do a number? That's why I always start off. Went to Wharton, was a good student, went there, did this, built a fortune. You know, I have to give my like credentials all the time, because we're a little disadvantaged. But you look at the nuclear deal, the thing that really bothers me. It would have been so easy, and it's not as important as these lives are. Nuclear is so powerful. My uncle explained that to me many years ago. The power, and that was 35 years ago. He would explain the power of what's going to happen, and he was right. Who would have thought? But when you look at what's going on with the 4 prisoners, now it used to be 3, now it's 4. But when it was 3 and even now, I would have said it's all in the messenger. fellas, and it is fellas because, they haven't figured that the women are smarter right now than the men, so, it's going to take them about another 150 years. But the Persians are great negotiators, the Iranians are great negotiators, so, and they just killed us. This is horrible. They're really interested in a very wide variety of subjects, and can talk to anyone about what that person does. Another sign is multiple skill areas. I went to Oxford University many years ago, and one of the things I noticed is that people who study pure mathematics often have an affinity for music, and oddly enough, crosswords. A lot of the postgraduates were not only studying at the very highest levels in their subject area, but they were often very high-level athletes as well, or writing a book, or setting up charities in their spare time. Very intelligent people tend to have unusual hobbies, and have as hobbies things that other people would consider to be a career area. Really high intelligence shows up across multiple areas, not just one. I have met people who are absolute savants in one area, but completely useless in others. I don't consider this to be a truly high level of intelligence, because I've seen the next level up, where people are savants, and also astonishingly talented in other areas as well. They know that they don't know shit. A person who thinks they're intelligent will tell everyone how intelligent they are. They'll make things up just to sound smart. Mainly they'll act like they know everything about everything. That's the dead giveaway, when they've got to contradict everything you say, because it makes them feel smart. Someone who's actually smart knows that the world is full of unknowns. They know there is so much to the world that's left unexplored and unanswered. When a question arises, they seek a truthful answer. And when they realize there is no answer, it'll be okay. To someone who wants to seem intelligent, it'll eat them alive. You will never hear someone faking intelligence say the words "I don't know," and I'm okay with that. PhD student in psychology here. This is a really cool topic, because there are so many different theories of what all encompasses one's intelligence. Every IQ intelligence test is based off specific theories, but there are a few key ideas that are generally agreed to be interactive elements when assessing intelligence. Crystallized intelligence. This is basically the ability to utilize prior learning in the present. This includes learning how to do simple math, and later use addition to solve a problem in front on you. It's accessing the resources you already possess effectively. Fluid intelligence. This is the ability to use abstract thinking for problem solving, and logical reasoning without already having learned how to do what is in front of you. Think of this in the context of puzzles. You don't know which piece goes where, but you can use various types of reasoning to figure it out as you go. Creative intelligence. This requires the ability to come up with novel solutions. This is the epitome of thinking outside the box, but being effective in the process of creating unique outcomes indicates higher creative intelligence. Different theories describe multiple types of intelligence. Some say there are 7, some say 12, some say 4, etc., but most of those categories are related to the ideas within these 3 categories. Not all intelligence tests include creative intelligence, but it's more common in recent assessments. I think intelligence is a complex interaction between drawing on previously learned information, engaging in critical thinking, logical reasoning, and thinking outside of the box to solve problems. Without all 3, you would be limited in your problem-solving processes, and risk becoming close-minded to outside.